You're listening to That Home Loan Hub. I'm Zibuni Salimova, here to make home loans and property investing simple, smart and stress-free. Let's get you closer to your property dreams. Today I've got a very exciting guest, and this woman, she wears 100 million hats. I don't think I've ever met anyone as busy as Helene Judge from Paraparumo. Hello, Helene.
Hello, kia ora.
Kia ora. So good to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for volunteering your time. Helene, as we were talking off the recording, I was asking you what sort of introduction would you like? And the first thing you said, I wear so many hats. And that's where I decided to go with. You wear a lot of hats. And I think we live at a time where people are busy. But being busy and being productive are two different things. And I think you're one of those people that pops up on my feed for multiple different reasons. I know you from the Kapiti Food Fair. You also run the Kapiti Marathon.
Kapiti Run for Youth, yes.
Run for Youth. And you're also involved with a few other projects around Kapiti. So let's dive in. For those that are not really aware of who you are, let's dive into who is Helene Judge and how did you end up in this chair today?
Oh, right. Oh, thank you for that. Really neat to be here. Yes, it's been quite a journey. I went into business in 2012. And that was as Kapiti Business Projects. So Kapiti Business Projects is still there live and kicking today, which I feel extremely grateful for because, over that time it's put food on my table and it's led me into a lot of different opportunities along the way. And my mind is always quite busy and it's always quite open to new things, change, doing things in a different way, that sort of thing. So I think that's why I've sort of landed in that woman of many hats. But the foundation of it all is really Kapiti Business Projects.
Kapiti Business Projects, what do they do, this project? For someone listening to this for the first time, and let's say they've just moved to Kapiti and they're like, what? There's Kapiti Business Projects? What does it do and who can it help?
So I'm like a business development specialist, really. I am a sole trader. However, I do have a sort of a team of people around me and I don't employ them, I contract them as I need them. And so they're people, again, that I've met and built relationships with along the way because I've got different expertise to me. However, but fundamentally, the Kapiti Business Projects is around working with things, business development opportunities where people are sort of maybe a bit more established and they're wanting to try something new. They need a bit of a hand. So I'm not an office administrator. I'm a person that will often come in and think through the issue a bit bigger and help them with how they can potentially use new platforms, particularly digital platforms, and how they can implement them in their business to make their business sort of grow a bit faster and to be more efficient with what it does.
Because do you find like a lot of business owners, especially sole traders, we get really stuck in the business.
Yes.
And it's really hard to sometimes take that step back and look from the helicopter view a little bit and go, okay, cool, what else can I do with my business here?
Yeah.
And this is where your help, I guess, comes in by helping those business owners to take a step back.
Absolutely. And I enjoy it when I talk with people all the time because as a sole trader, I'm in my office, I'm there by myself, I'm having meetings with myself, ranting and raving around the house because it is also a home office. However, I do have an office where I can shut the door and forget about things, once I decide that the day's over and I'm going to have a rest and get going next day. So business planning becomes really important and that's often a time when you do need to chat with people. And so that's where one of the things that Kapiti Business Projects does, it often helps people bring together a plan. And it could be a really comprehensive plan that's needed because they want to get finance from a bank or they're wanting to start up a small business or they might be wanting to evolve a new line of services within the business. So it can be all different types of things, but planning is important. And often having that little guide on your shoulder, not doing everything for you, but challenging you with things that can be then quite useful for somebody independent to bring that business plan together.
Yeah.
And sometimes it extends out to, particularly if it's a startup, often you need a cash flow. And so I'll help people develop up their cash flow forecast. And that's also really valuable because, as the business starts and grows, it's really important to have markers to see that, oh gosh, yes, that's what I forecasted. And look, here we are 6 months down the track, we're doing that. Now we're moving ahead with the next goal that we want to do. So I really enjoy doing things like that. However, I can't do hundreds of those sorts of things, particularly because of other hats that I wear. And that's where things like the Kapiti Food Fair comes into play, because that takes all year to plan and deliver with a lot of other people, that event.
And that is the biggest event in Kapiti, to my understanding. To my
well, I
view.
suppose we're the biggest consumer of
Consumer. I was thinking food. I just didn't say that word.
Yeah. But consumers from the perspective of we're not an outdoor. Well, we're an outdoor event, but we're an event where people can come in and consume. There's 250 plus vendors.
I was about to say, how many vendors?
Yeah. However, it's more like a massive festival because it's this huge, exciting, fun day out, and people put it into their annual calendars to come. And, particularly now, because we know that the big main stage, music, all that other busking entertainment, it all complements the vendor sites and the opportunity for those vendors to commercially make money out of being a vendor at the Kapiti Food Fair. But it's actually a big event which we think we're in the happiness business. It's about joy.
It's about joy. Now tell me, as you were telling me that, I was thinking, Kapiti Food Fair this year, when is it?
Saturday, the 5th of December.
Saturday, because usually for me, in my mind, it's like this Christmas months where everyone starts to get a bit happier and looking forward to the holidays and just needs a bit of that, finally we can spend time with family. Yes. So for me, it's a big family event as well.
It is.
I see lots of people bringing their bubs, bringing their kids, bringing their dogs.
Yeah.
Don't know if we're allowed dogs this year.
Yes, we are allowed dogs this year.
Okay, good. And there's just so much food and so much stuff to buy and, really do your Christmas shopping. For people like me especially, that leaves everything to the last minute when it comes to shopping. I hate shopping. I have to really force myself to go and buy something. Not that I don't like spending money. It's just shopping has always been my least favorite thing to do. But when I get to the Kapiti Food Fair and there are so many vendors and so many choices, I get really happy because I can just do all my shopping in one go and then I'm done.
It's quite exciting, isn't it? I totally get that feeling of I'm not a shopper and I only go out to the shops when I really need to actually get something.
Yeah. Same. Now, take me back a step. How did the Kapiti Food Fair idea even come up to your head? Like, did you just wake up one morning and go, I want to do this?
Well, there's more. So my business partner, Janine van Kradenberg, she's one of the founding members of the actual Kapiti Food Fair brand. And it was her and some other people back in 2008. So I wasn't on the scene at that stage. I think I came into the scene around about 2010. And it was because I was working as a business development manager for an organisation called Nature Coast Enterprise, which doesn't exist anymore. But it wore two hats. It was the local economic development agency for Kapiti Horowhenua, and it was also the regional tourism organisation for Kapiti Horowhenua. And it was funded by both councils, Horowhenua and Kapiti Coast. So that group came up to meet me because they knew that we were starting to do some work in the food and beverage sector and we were building a database of all the different food producers in Kapiti Horowhenua. And so they came and they wanted to meet about how we could help them. And so it was sort of quite exciting. And I am a foodie. I love food. And the people that came were fun. They were really interesting. They were excited about what they were doing. They'd kicked off their inaugural event. They got a small amount of money out of Kapiti Coast District Council and they ran the first event at the old Whitireia site up by Lindale.
Yeah.
And it sort of just evolved from there without sort of very organically. And I sort of all of a sudden was being dragged into, monthly, weekly meetings.
As it happens.
As it goes. And it sort of very much evolved from there. And what happened was it became clear that Janine and I were very like-minded, different, but like-minded. And also Thomas, who then owned Kapiti Cakes and Bakery, he was sort of involved. And then there was Anne-Marie Tiffin, who used to own Soprano's Restaurant, which is not around anymore, but we all sort of became together. And so we started, I started becoming a little bit more influential in helping to drive things, because I like driving things. It's like, get in the car and let's go, everybody. This is really cool. And off we went, and we all we delivered, I think, up to about 2012 up at the Lindale location, and then we got too big and we had to start looking. And so then we landed on the new site where we are now at Mazengarb Reserve in 2014. But before landing there, Thomas and Anne-Marie departed because things were going, there were changes with their businesses and both were leaving town, that sort of thing. And so then it remained with Janine and I, and we were operating very sort of in a well-planned, productive way, and we had good systems and things in place, but we didn't have any entity authority behind us. So we moved locations, and then we thought, gosh, we better put some formality behind what we're doing. And so in 2016, we formed a partnership.
Nice.
But we'd delivered 2 amazing fairs at that new location. And then, things started to expand. It's just like any business, things started getting bigger and bigger each year, and more visitors would come, and the excitement would it just sort of started compounding. So then in 2015, in fact, the Kapiti Coast District Council developed the Kapiti Major Events Fund. So we were too flippin' scared to apply the first year, because we thought, we're just 2 chicks. What do we know? And then we didn't apply the first year.
Wow.
And the second, when we realised who had received money in that inaugural round, we thought, heck,
we could have done it.
We could do that.
Yeah.
So we had to put our big girl pants on. And 2016 we applied and we got funding. And ever since then we've been a recipient. But every year that fund tends to morph and change, and it becomes, it's massive to get into it. But we definitely meet the criteria. And the criteria is essentially you have to return at least 5 to 1 from the funding that they've given you. Just as an example, we returned 25 to 1, so quite a good investment.
Wow.
And you also have to have the visitors that come, at least 5% of them need to be from out of town. And we normally achieve usually about 40% from out of town.
Where are they coming from?
They're coming from sort of lower North Island, and a lot also from Wellington and all around that broader Wellington region, Manawatu, Whanganui.
Yeah, I was about to say, I've got lots of friends in Palmerston North that
those
come.
Sort of easy drive distances for a day, or they're coming to visit and stay with family and friends. They stay overnight and then they head home. So they actually come from all over the country, but predominantly Wellington and that lower North Island caption.
That's incredible. I mean, for my listeners, what I'm always trying to do is I'm trying to bring speakers that will encourage them and inspire them, and that you can actually start something out of nothing. You can, if you've got a vision, if you've got a drive, even if that vision may not be where you end up, but you've got something to go by and the passion that drives you, you can actually achieve a lot of things. And listening to you today into the story of the Kapiti Food Fair and how it evolved over the years and what it is now, it just blows my mind that you can start up and run with it. But see, a lot of people don't realize the effort that goes behind the scenes, the hard work that you put in, the sleepless nights, the organizing and planning and logistics and making sure the vendors are all where they need to be. Because on the day, it's orchestrated. But at the same time, to me, it's always like, oh my goodness, does everyone know where they're going? But somehow, magically, everybody knows where they're going. It's great.
Absolutely. So it is all in the planning. And that's like a lot of things within business. You do need to be a good planner. You need to be able to work with people. You need to be able to lead them, but lead with purpose. And you need to be able to lead people that are with you. And if you then set out that plan and then enact that plan authentically does all come together, and it is quite amazing. You know, we have pinch moments, Janine and I, during the day of the Kapiti Food Fair, because we often stand up on the hill and we go, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
And we still have that feeling, you know, all these years on, because it is a pretty cool event and it is pretty neat how it's grown. It is still very neat how it's very connected and engaged with its community. However, we are definitely a major event, not just in the Kapiti region, but when you look around, you know, we can be proud of the efforts that we've taken.
Absolutely.
But with those efforts comes risk.
Yeah, I was about to ask you. That was my next question, especially given the economy. And I was going to ask you that early on when you were talking about when you're working with businesses. And it's awesome to talk about the businesses that grow, but what about all those businesses that are struggling at the moment? And an environment that we're in where the economy is experiencing very, very down times, where there's unemployment rate that's very high. Like, what's happening out there? Tell me from that angle.
Yeah, it's, well, just personally, you know, as Kapiti Business Projects, I'm, operate very leanly, and I think a lot of businesses are doing that, even more so now, because, you know, the money, you know, the work is there, and I'm quite established now, so I've been able to sort of set the scene for where, you know, I want things to go. However, I didn't go into business to be a millionaire, and I, you know, do operate, it can be challenging. However, with those challenges comes that opportunity of being self-employed, and you do have a lot more flexibility when you're self-employed. And, you know, I went into business when my son was very, very young. It's only him and I. And we've been able to get through our life. He's now in year 2 university at Victoria studying maths. And we're still getting, you know, we're still there. You know, we're surviving. But we see it, well, I see it as Kapiti Business Projects, that a lot of people that are reasonably established like me, they are carrying on. Because the moment you pull back and you think, oh, we'll have a year off, or we'll slow down with this, or we'll do that, you might as well kiss goodbye to things. You have to persevere. And so if you want to be in business, you've got to be resilient, and you've got to be able to get yourself through those tough times. And you do have to be putting money aside. So instead of just thinking, oh, great, I've got some spare money, I'm going to go and spend that. You don't see me going off and buying new cars, having holidays. I just get on and live life. You have to factor in, you know, some fun and some enjoyment, but it doesn't always have to cost a lot. But it's decisions that you make yourself. You know, it's around what your life to be and your lifestyle. And what's really important to me is obviously my son and myself
and security. I'm hearing security through this.
Absolutely.
Take me back to a young Helene. What did she know about money?
Oh, we were brought up in that generation of when we were young, when we were at school, you know, what was it? We got a bank book, you know, like a little bank book. It came through the school system. And I think it was with the Trustee Savings Bank back then, which sort of ultimately morphed into Westpac, I think, from memory. But we were taught that it was about saving, you know, that you shouldn't really go and do anything unless you've got the money in the bank. So over the years, I've learnt to balance that, because, you know, if you just keep saving all your life and you never enjoy the hard work and the effort that you put in, then
what's the point of this money?
What's the point? Yeah. So, but you do just have to be mindful. If you're good at planning, good at budgeting and putting your money aside for different purposes, then you can have a balanced lifestyle depending on whatever choices you make. So, yeah, a family that's never had a lot of money, never had a lot. Like when I left home, and which was actually from Nelson, and moved to Wellington, and my first job was I was a cadet working for the Department of Justice back in those days. And there were 4 cadets chosen around New Zealand, and I happened to be one of them. And my parents just sort of waved goodbye to me at the airport. Bye, and I had a suitcase and off I went, and I was landing in Wellington, and I got picked up by some family friends, and I lived at their place for about 6 weeks before I had sort of got into this new job, and then met some people and landed in a flat, and life went on from there. So, but, didn't get any sort of check or any sort of support from the family, not because they didn't want to do that. It's just that it didn't happen.
Yeah, but
my
also,
generation, that didn't happen.
They didn't have much money either back then.
No, but we were always loved, and we were always warm, and we were happy, and we had a great family life.
Do you have lots of siblings?
Yes, I'm the eldest of 5.
Wow. Okay. Are they brothers, sisters?
Yes, I've got, there's two, myself and another sister, and then 3 brothers.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the eldest daughter is usually the one that's supposed to be like the one that has everything switched on, and she's got it all. She's got it all together. And then the rest, I don't know what happens after.
Yeah.
This is all according to research, not me. But Helene, you've got a really interesting story. So you went to Wellington, but I'm still trying to put the puzzles together. How did you end up in business? How do you go from Ministry of Justice to business?
Well, I've mentioned Nature Coast Enterprise. When I was working there, that organisation was wound down, and both councils decided that they wanted to do economic development differently. So they both retrenched, and that the organisation was disestablished, and so we all got made redundant. We didn't get any big checks or anything like that. However, for me, I just happened to have a bit of leave. So when we all left, we had a bit of a party, and then I think I ended up getting paid, my last paycheck was about $3,000. So that's what I essentially started up business with, $3,000 in the bank. But what was really lucky was the then board, one of them was a woman called Shelley, from one of the directors from Colbert Cooper, who are my accountants today. And she said, Helen, can you come and do a project for us? So I said, sure, what's that? So that's what kick-started me, and that was amazing. So I did some of that project from home, and some I would go into their office and live in. And then when that was coming to an end, they said, can you do another project for us? So that's what really got me going. But also there was another person on our board of Nature Coast Enterprise, Kate Gibbs from Stanmore Farm. And I saw her recently, and she reminded me of this. But again, she said, could you come and do a project for us? So I left. We got all made redundant, and I had decided that I was going to go into business, because I thought, well, I don't want to go back into Wellington to work.
Especially if you had a young kid at that time.
Yeah, because I had Sydney at home.
How old was he at that time?
He was probably about 5.
Were you terrified when you heard that you were going to be redundant?
I wasn't terrified. I thought, no, it all felt right, because I felt it was time to be doing my own thing, but it took me to be in my 40s to be brave enough to do that. And because I had 2 people that said, can you come do these projects for us? And I said, yes. And boom, away it went. And then one thing leads to another. And so here I am now, 2026.
I love that for you. I absolutely love that for you. What did you learn as a lesson being self-employed, apart from you got to put money aside? What sort of downfalls that you had where you were like, if I could go back in time, I would have done that differently? Were there any moments like that?
Not hugely. Sometimes you hold your breath because you think, there's not much money this month. But then what it did, it just sort of pushed me harder to work with people. And there was always collaboration opportunities that were presenting, and quite a lot of them were in the event space. So there are people out there that think that, Helene, she's an event manager. Because obviously Kapiti Food Fair is quite a large event.
Yeah.
But I got landed quite early in the piece. Richard Kalkin, another really great guy here in business in Kapiti, the founder of Web Genius.
Yes.
And he invited me to one of his B&I meetings. And after that meeting, he said, Helen, could you come and work with us? Because we Web Genius has created this new event called the Web Genius Kapiti Run for Youth. And I said, oh, that sounds really interesting. And it piqued my interest because it was all about community. And bringing people together to do something wonderful. And the wonderfulness was about raising as much money as possible for rangatahi in our community. And so we developed a model that financially sort of worked for me. So, you know, I get paid on a performance basis, basically, and that still happens to this day. But it's still quite a low. It's not huge.
No.
But amongst everything else I do, what it offers to me is variety. Yeah. It enables me to be connected with a large variety of different people in Kapiti. So I crave that. I like that.
It keeps you current.
That's right. And it keeps me connected because being connected is actually really important.
And that's the key.
In business.
Yeah. You got to have
building relationships.
Yeah.
Very, very important. You just have to be able to handle all the craziness that can sometimes happen. But that's okay. I can do that.
You strike me as a person that can handle quite a bit. I find often myself that, you know, when people say, oh, how does it like? You know, oh, you've got such a great life. You can go for coffees anytime you want. You can go out to the gym or whatever. To me, it's like, oh God, it's like a roller coaster. Being self-employed, and especially if you've got staff, like I've got staff, I have to pay people, regardless of the results this month, I still have to pay fixed cost to my people. So for me, it's always like this roller coaster journey going, woo, holding my breath. And I totally feel you.
But it gives you purpose.
Absolutely.
And as long as you wrap a whole lot of systems and thinking and planning and stuff around that purpose, you will continue to do that because business is a bit like a roller coaster and that's okay as long as you can manage all of that and it's not sort of too high all the time and too low when you drop.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Exactly. Now, in terms of our community, what do you think is lacking here? What sort of events do you think we could be thinking of or giving businesses ideas of, you know, how can we bring more life to Kapiti, especially our youth?
So, there's quite a lot going on already, but it's often in silos. But if you're thinking about, you know, like looking at our environment, so, you know, we have this whole mountains to the sea sort of concept and there's a lot in between. And the outdoors and nature are really beautiful here in Kapiti Coast. So, you know, you think about the Kapiti Half Marathon and even Kapiti Run for Youth and the different running and outdoor sporting events that happen, Kapiti Women's Try, you know, things like that. So those sorts of events are all events that are backed by the Major Events Fund. And so we need more of those sorts of events because being outdoors is great, but often they're all concentrated often around summer.
Yes.
So, you know, if you can, because it's obviously nicer often to do events in summer and then sometimes as against in winter. But it's all risky, you see. It's really hard. It's hard setting up new events and not having a lot of money and bringing people together with the right passion and the right purpose. So outdoor events for sure, I think, bring more of them in, but also events that, you know, you think about the wedding expo that happens. That's a very cool event, again, run by private people. So encouraging private people to bring their passion together to deliver an event, but one that can make money so that you can survive and the event can be sustainable. So weddings, again, work with the outdoor environment because a lot of events happen outdoors, but then you go indoors and into very beautiful spaces, and there's some very beautiful spaces indoors here in Kapiti. So it's about often, again, bringing all these different people together that work in different industries to deliver events. We'd like to think that the Kapiti Food Fair is sustainable and can keep on going.
Yeah.
And because food and beverage industry in Kapiti is a emerging and sustainable industry. There's a lot of amazing producers out there, and the work that Kapiti Coast District Council was doing with that new cluster, the food and beverage cluster, is very important because it's setting a foundation and setting a stage for collaborations in particular to flourish. So a good example of that at the moment is with the Kapiti Food Fair, for this year. We're hoping that our sitemap is going to deliver a new Kapiti zone. It's quite hard when you've got different Kapiti vendors all around the sitemap, but we're going to stay focused on those that are producing things and packaging things up to sell to consumers. So that should be quite an exciting new zone, and at the centre of it will be the Visit Kapiti brand. So it's about bringing all of that together and collaborating and showing cohesion, and all together you're pitching a pretty cool story about all these amazing products that are being produced here in Kapiti, and that can be bought at festivals, bought at fairs, bought at markets, but also bought online through their own websites. That can be, and a lot of these businesses are starting to export, they're starting to export overseas. So it is exciting, the things that can grow and how events can help the growth of some of these industries. Events are massive for economic impact. When you just think back earlier in our conversation, and I mentioned that 25-1, what that technically means is that we don't have to give that major events funding money back. However, there's an economic analysis that gets developed through an infometrics tool, and we have to we don't put the numbers in, but we provide a whole lot of stats. The numbers go into that model, and then that extrapolates out that return on investment, from an investment perspective. And then what it also does is it estimates the additional spending that goes into our local economy. So last year there was just under $2 million extra spending they estimated that went into our local economy. Now that's pretty cool. That's not too shabby the way we look at it.
No, not at all. And I mean, when people come this way, they want to enjoy the day. They want to really go out there, explore what else is out there, and spend money and spend time with their families. Because honestly, if I go somewhere, I've got 4 kids, by the time I buy them all food and drinks, it's a lot of money. And then all the activities and things like that. So
you have to plan for it and you have to budget for it.
Yeah, and that was my next question. Do you think this year is going to be same or different compared to last year, given the economic environment?
It's challenging, and we feel, you have moments where you feel pretty nervous about what you're doing. However, we have to go into it well planned. We have to plan a really good campaign, which kicks off very soon. Like everybody, we've had to relook at, what does it cost to get in as a visitor? What does it cost to have a site by a vendor? So we're doing small adjustments like everybody. We have to operate just like any other business, but we have to take the market with us. But because we're an event and because we try and focus on that joy factor, that happiness factor, by the time the end of the year comes, people really need,
oh, they do.
They need it now, but we're also in that other challenging sort of year as well, and then we've got to flip an election. And that's a real pain, when you think about it, because it's quite distracting for a whole lot of reasons. And, there appears to be still money out there, but a lot of that money is just being held in people's bank accounts or in their pockets, in their wallets, because they're just trying to be mindful about what they're doing. But by the time December comes, we hope that they will come in similar numbers, if not a little bit more, because then we know that at the end of the day, we can then be a sustainable event, because if we don't get the visitors, then, we struggle to pay everybody that we owe. And generally, the 2 owners, the 2 directors, we're the ones that have to absorb
the hit. Yeah.
And when there is a hit. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I always worry for you every year.
Yeah. But joy, happiness. We have to rely on that. And we know that our ticket prices are still good when you compare them to other similar sort of
How much
events.
are the tickets?
So this year, for an adult early bird, it'll be $18 to go.
I've got some to give away. So for those that are listening, if you want to go to Kapiti Food Fair as one of your sponsors, I don't even know what sort of sponsor I am, but
You're a silver sponsor, and we're so very grateful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I always forget. I'm like, I just love coming there. I don't care about the titles. I just wanted to back the community event, and because food is important, obviously. But I will have some tickets to give away. And for those that are listening, if you want a ticket, if you want to reach out to me, more than happy to give them. And, in the past, it's been really cool for those that I give away the tickets. They'll come on the day and they'll find me and we'll take selfies together and stuff like that.
Nice.
So it's really cute. What I was thinking as you were talking about it is that, it's interesting, the psychology of spending. I find often when I'm dealing with my clients in January and February, when they're looking to buy a house, they go, please ignore the spending that I had in December because, it went a little bit crazy. What I find is the moment December hits, people don't care anymore. They really start spending. Even the money they don't have, they spend. So I think with the Kapiti Food Fair being in December, you definitely in that right window where people just stop caring because they've been carrying all that weight on them the whole 11 months of budgeting and saving and putting up with the rates and mortgages and insurances and not going away on trips. So when December hits, they're like, oh, well, we're done. We want to enjoy.
Rest. And it's a Kiwi psyche, like December, January, it's sort of like everything goes to sleep a little bit from a business perspective. And I know when I'm talking with some of my clients, particularly if they're new to business, I say to them, you really have to put money aside because things will go quiet in December and January. You'll actually work quite hard in December if you've got any sense, and you'll try and build things up as much as possible so that you can actually have a break, because January is the natural time when you can have a break because your email will drop off, your phone will stop ringing for a while, and you can actually switch off and you can be with the people that you love doing the things that you want to do, and also spending some money yourself.
Yeah.
But time is the thing that's also really important, spending time with the people that you love.
It's creating memories, right? Because that's the only thing really we have when we get old. It's not about how much money we've got in our bank account. Nobody thinks on their dying bed, oh yeah, I've got $25,000 in my bank account. Nobody thinks of that. They'll be lying down in their hospital bed thinking about all the fun stuff they did with their loved ones or things they haven't done and they wish they did.
That's right. Yeah. So you got to strike that balance of what works for you.
I look at my kids and I realized the other day I only have 5 more summers probably left with my eldest son before he's off to college, to university, before he's off to doing fun stuff with his mates. Because in 5 years' time, he probably doesn't want to do summers with me when he can go to the beach with his mates and girlfriends and all sorts. So it's, how do you spend that time in a balanced quality way that will create memories?
I think if you do that now while your children are young, because once a mum, you're always a mum.
Oh, yes.
Doesn't matter how old your children are. Like my boy's coming up 20 this year. And I know what you mean when, he may not want to come away for the Christmas camping trip that we often do. And last year he didn't. However, he's always there. I'm the one, we talk, we have a good, close relationship. And I think that's because we've built that up over the years. And, we both need each other. And if you nurture your children and guide your children in that way, they'll always be there, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Because you do have to remember there is a time where you have to cut the rope. However,
have you cut one?
Yes, I have done that. However, financially it's not easy for young people now.
No.
And it does bother me sometimes, like even just the mere cost of how much it is to go to university. And whether that is preventing some people going to university. And, Sydney's precisely in that thing, whereas next year he was going to be year 3, he was going to be that year 3 fees free. It's gone now because the current government has cut that, and they cut it immediately. They didn't give it a sort of a warm down period. So, it worries me, and those sorts of things, it bothers me because education is, very, very important for the future. And, my son will be somebody, and I want him to be somebody. But, it all comes back to money to be at university. Yeah. And there are people that are there that are struggling and they drop out because of money. And to me, it doesn't seem quite right.
No. That would be really cool. Like if the government would say, okay, cool, study the 3 years, get that student loan because it's interest-free, right? But then land a job, land a profession, stay in New Zealand for at least 3 years and we'll wipe your debt.
Yeah, sort of bond them. And that's where they don't bond that at the moment.
Yeah, because a lot of, we're licking brains. A lot of New Zealanders that are super smart, they come here, they go. Yeah. They just,
Totally.
the grass is definitely greener in Australia at the moment. I see so many young people leaving to go because the KiwiSaver is well ahead. They're doing 12% versus we're still stuck at 3.5%.
Yeah.
The packages they get from their work. And look, this episode is not sponsored by Australian government to send you away. But what I'm seeing is that, a lot of people are leaving. I mean, I love New Zealand. I don't think I will ever go to Australia because I just don't like spiders or snakes in my bed. But I do see why it could be attractive for younger people to go.
Absolutely. Totally.
And that terrifies me slightly as well, thinking my kids are going to grow up and then they will go, Mum, actually, Waikanae is boring, Wellington is boring, we're going to go to Australia.
But it's okay because the way technology is now, you can be chatting to anybody.
Well, look.
Engage, it's all okay. It will all be all right. But it would be nice if New Zealand can maintain keep that talent and have the opportunities there for our own kids.
You just raised a really interesting point about technology that I was going to ask you earlier as well. How do you see that affecting businesses these days, especially the ones you're working with?
It's huge. You've just got to really keep on it. And you can't put your head in the sand and go, oh, look, I'll just ignore that and I won't be bothered by that. You actually do have to keep your head up over the radar when it comes to technology. And it's critical because if you don't, give it 5 years, give it 10 years, you're potentially going to be a person stuck in an arc that won't understand and won't have the confidence to engage. You can't, and so you've just got to keep moving with it. If it means chatting with a friend or another colleague or, talking with others, stay connected, you don't have to become a guru at everything. You have to just look at your business, look at your personal circumstances and try and work out the right things that are going to help you keep your head above the parapet and also to feel engaged and confident with what you're doing. Because the moment you stop, you'll be left behind.
I think it's just really like our parents had to embrace the rise of technology, the Wi-Fi's, the WWW.
I remember when I got my first PC. I think it was 1992 or something, or 1995 around that. And then, first mobile phones, those big bricks that you would carry in your car when you're driving. Yeah, you just have to sort of keep moving with it and try not to be overwhelmed by it and pick up on new things that help you run your business more efficiently, like AI, it's moving so quickly, but attempt to get on board with it. Choose your platform, like for me, I work in lots of different platforms, but my chosen AI platform, I work in Copilot because I've got a business license. I know it's protected on the enterprise sort of foundation and you just get on with it. And you learn, because AI learns as well. If you learn to do all the right prompts and ask it to do all the right things, it will learn from you and it will give you back sensibility. But never release anything without looking at it and reading it and making sure that it does actually make sense.
That's the key as well. I often say, and for those that are listening probably would have been sick by now, I always say AI is only as good as a human that's using it. Like you got to use your own brains when you're using AI. And if you don't know what you need to ask of it, or if you don't know how to check for validity of that information, like you're going to be in trouble. So you really got to be smart as well on how you're using AI.
Absolutely.
Helene, I feel like this conversation went all over the show today, but it just beautifully rounded who you are and how much experience you have. If you could have 1 minute of fame, how would people find you and do you want people to reach out to you and why?
Oh, well, I'm easily found. If you just, put Helene Judge into your AI partner or into Google, wherever, you will find me and you will generally find me at the top of the list as Kapiti Business Projects. and Kapiti Food Fair will follow pretty closely with that. But my name, Helene Judge, New Zealand, Kapiti Coast, you will find me. And I open my door or my telephone or anything to anybody. But I also get a bit selective as to where I do step in. I have to make sure that whatever I decide to get involved with, that it does somehow keep me connected within business and within Kapiti Coast as such, because that's where I live and where I operate from.
What are your big goals and vision? Where are you heading?
Where am I heading? Gosh, that's quite a big question. You'd sort of think that I'd know the answer to that, but I'm in an interesting part of my life where, working and watching my son grow is really important, and being part of that, but also my own family, and I'm the oldest of 5, and I tend to be the matriarch of our family. And so keeping our family together is very important. And some of our family are in Melbourne, and some of our family are in Nelson, and some of our family, we're a bit all over the place, but Nelson is very much our home. So evolving that next stage, and being able to continue to work, from a home environment is important to me. But also remembering in my family and where I might want to be with them in the future. So that's not sort of always quite crystal clear, because I'm not ready to take that leap yet.
Yeah.
It's important that I'm still making money and putting food on the table and doing the things that I need to do that work for Sydney and I.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, hopefully he will finish university, he'll land a beautiful job, and then he'll be the one looking after you.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Well, he's doing
wherever
mathematics.
in the world that will be.
Yeah.
He's a mathematician.
Yeah. So I'm sure you can't go wrong if you know how to do with numbers, how to deal with numbers. It's the best. Helene, thank you so much for your time today. I really, really enjoyed our chat. And I can't wait to the Kapiti Food Fair in December. It's going to be fun.
Wonderful.
Joy.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's a wrap on That Home Loan Hub. Don't forget to hit subscribe and join me next time for more property tips and tricks. Your next smart move starts here.